Yeah, yeah, yeah. Government shutdown. Not so fast, but hold on a second. Now we might be going back to the government shutdown. A lot of stuff happening here. It's because they're trying to get rid of hemp. Why would you try to get rid of hemp? Why are you putting stuff inside of things that don't need it? I think that's a fair thing.
Because they're trying to slide it by. They're trying to sneak it in.
But why? What would be the usefulness in this moment in time?
Some lobbyist somewhere went and said, get this in for me. I'll give you a car.
Yeah. So.
You want to hear something hilarious?
Yeah, I'd like to.
Ignacia Fernandez, 27-year-old model and vocalist of the progressive death metal band Decius, has just been crowned Miss Chile and will represent them in the Miss World and Miss USA and Universe pageants.
Miss Chile.
Yeah.
What happened last week in the Miss Universe with... Did you see that? Like
she sang a death metal song, though, as her talent.
As you do.
Yeah, and she's gorgeous.
Oh,
yeah.
You ain't kidding.
Yeah. They all sound like Shakira, dance like Shakira.
No, she doesn't sound like Shakira.
She sounds like George Corpse Grinder Fisher.
Yeah.
But she's hot. And then last week there was all the Miss Universe, some of them walked out in the middle of a press conference.
Because like Miss Mexico got shamed or something for not doing enough online promotion?
Yeah, something like that. And they said, I was lost in translation. I don't think it was lost that much in translation. That's all I'm saying.
So there was there was backlash.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They all walked out because they thought the guy was making fun of her.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't do that. Not to Miss Mexico. I don't know how you think you are.
No, sir.
Hey, did you see was it last week, that dude who walked up to the president, Scheinbaum, and just
just started groping.
Just grabbed her boobs?
Dude, that is crazy in Mexico,
Wait a minute, walked
too.
up to...
Yeah, so she's like there's like, you know, like Trump would have like a bunch of camera people around him, and she's on the street.
Yeah.
This guy just like slowly moving closer, and he just goes by and there's a honk honk.
Yeah, just puts his arm around her and grabs one.
Yeah.
Somebody on the security detail got fired.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have killed her.
Yeah, he could have. And this is the day after that guy was murdered.
Oh, that's right. That guy you were talking about who picked up his child or something.
Grabs her. And she's going to press charges, as she should. It's the machismo world of, you get a lot of that in the Latino countries, the machismo, right? They got that macho-ness. But I can't believe, and I think they thought he was a politician, but you just kind of slowly see him sinking in.
Yeah, like he's just kind of blending in like he's supposed to be there.
And just sure enough, and he's a honk honk. And then the next thing you know, she didn't really get what was going on because it was like a crush of people. But then she realized, oh my God, did I just get groped?
And she did.
Yeah. And I'm surprised nobody beat the crap out of that guy.
I that's what I'm saying, man. I mean, had he intended to do something else, he would have succeeded.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody said it was a message from the cartels. Oh, they send different messages. But, you know, here's the thing. The cartels don't mess with the president because the president and the powers that be in Mexico City give them a large path because they all kind of, you know, we're all on the same page, right? Like, you terrorize those neighborhoods, you leave us alone. But that was just so bizarre. What a pig. What a pig.
Yeah, man.
Several people are also chiming in about last hour we were talking about the rats.
Yeah.
Catching bats in midair.
Rat bat.
Somebody then said, have you seen the hummingbird get caught by the praying mantis?
Interesting.
Do you know what the best hunter is in the animal kingdom?
Praying mantis?
No.
Cat?
No. Hummingbird. I'm not a hummingbird, a dragonfly.
Dragonfly. They kill wasp.
95% of the things they go after, they kill. Nobody's even close to that in the animal kingdom.
Yeah, and look at how they fly.
Yeah.
I mean, they can just like change direction on a dime.
And do you know what's a trip? So because they have so many eyes and all this stuff, they, within 2 seconds, can memorize their prey and then all their mannerisms and then think ahead of them. Because it's like almost like they know how to read minds. So creepy. Animal Kingdom's weird. That's how you know there's a God, baby.
I remember a couple of summers ago hanging out with my mom and dad's. They kind of live out in the country. And I remember watching red wasp, like fighting off hummingbirds from their feeders.
Really?
They got a huge red wasp in Oklahoma. And I mean, these things were serious about not wanting those hummingbirds to take all that sweet water you put in their feeders.
That is a trip.
So there was just a bunch of red wasp all over them.
Really?
Yeah.
And they
would just like, I never saw one attack a hummingbird, but the hummingbird didn't want any part of it.
Man, no, I wouldn't think so. I mean, but
I'm not going to lie, that would have been interesting to watch.
Well, one-on-one, yeah, but once the wasp gets overtaken.
Yeah.
And once the wasp overtakes the hummingbird, it's screwed.
Yeah.
There's one bird, there's a honey buzzard. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Honey buzzard looks kind of like an eagle, and it is impervious to bee stings or anything else. And all it does is it'll go straight to a hive and it'll eat everything in its path. And it eats every single one of them. And so, and their feathers are almost like metal. So these things can't pierce them. And it just eats everything.
Interesting.
Yeah, crazy. Look, now you guys are learning stuff. Don't say that we don't teach you. That's what we do here, kids. We teach you. We teach you. By the way, 50-year mortgage. Who's up for that?
A longer fixed-rate mortgage would lower monthly payments, but would also create a higher total cost because of all that interest over 5 decades. Take a $400,000 loan at 6% interest. Under a 30-year mortgage, the monthly payment would be just shy of $2,400. Under a 50-year loan, it drops to just over $2,100, a savings of nearly $300 a month. But over time, that savings is erased by a much larger interest bill, because while the total interest on a 30-year loan would be about $463,000. The interest on a 50-year loan would total more than $860,000.
Ken, you and I have talked about this forever, about just the cost of living.
Yep.
The number one thing in all the research, what do you think it is for people that's holding people back from getting into a house?
The down payment.
Down payment's the number one thing. Absolutely, not even close. It is the down payment. So if you were typical payments 20%, right? Even an FHA style loan. So a typical house, median price, USA, across the board, $420,000. So you need to come up with $84,000. How many people have $84,000 sitting around? Right? It's not the payment, because they're already paying that in rent. So if you're a family, if you're a young couple, right, and you're in your 30s and each of you make $50,000 even, right? So we're not talking about making something crazy. You're already paying that, but you're not getting ahead. And it takes you, one of the things, and it's funny because we've talked about this before, but if you go and look at and adjust for inflation from where we are today to where we were, say, in the, 80s, early 90s, the reality is it's not the payment, right? Even the cost of some of the houses, yes, in some areas have gone up exponentially, but it is the time where you would have to wait 2 or 3 years to get enough for a down payment back then. Now, if you're lucky, it's 10 years. And that's if the prices stay the same. Right? That's the other problem. You save up for $84,000. Well, that $420,000 home now is worth $600,000. So now you got to get $120,000. So that's been a huge issue. 40% of renters have less than $1,000 in savings. And this year, what is the average homeowner, first-time homeowners, in their 40s? Because it's the down payment. And that's the issue. If Trump wants to fix this, they need to figure out how to help people get down payment assistance. Because unless you got mom or dad willing to help you out in some way, shape, or form, which they're not supposed to, but everybody knows they do, otherwise young people never own a home. I mean, that's the number one thing. So if you were to rent a 2-bedroom, 3-bath house, right? Let's say here, Davidson County, on average, this is local data, $2,300 a month. If you were to be able to get into a home here, you'd owe $2,200 a month. It's that down payment. That down payment is the number one thing that is holding this generation back from purchasing a home. And so what are they hoping for? Mom and dad are probably in pretty good health, but they've got a home or two, and they're eventually going to give it to you. So you're not going to be the traditional homeowner. You're going to be the I got the home after mom and dad die homeowner. Which sounds horrible, but that's just kind of the reality.
What if they've got more than one kid?
Then you guys are splitting it, or you guys are both going to live in it as a family. But that's, the transfer of wealth that's coming is great for some. But, if you're in your 30s and you want to own a house, and even if you're doing okay and you're saving $1,000 a month, $1,500 a month, to get to that point where you're even thinking about putting down $20,000 for some, let alone 60 or 80, that's a long way away. And if we really want to fix this, it's good. The best way to do it is to come up with, some sort of assistance for the down payment. Maybe it's the bank truly owns the house until you come up with the down payment. It's almost like a rent to own. But that's the problem that we're finding. It's the down payment. We went through this, the 50-year mortgage, man, the amount of money. Do you realize the amount of years it would take you before you start to build up equity in your house? It's insane. It is truly insane.
And how long the bank's going to own you.
Yeah, 50 years. So if you're 30, you won't own your home clear and free till you're 80. If you stuck with it. I mean, I think a lot of people think, well, here's the thing. It's not like, if your house doubles in price, there's so much, the way they write these things too, it's not like you're walking away with all that money. They're going to want some of their equity in there as well. And you're not going to pay that. I mean, it's just insane. It's like, this is the problem we have. This is it. When I talk to people, man, it's the same thing over and over again. I can't afford the down.
You know what'll fix this?
What?
More government.
Well, of course. Dude, more government fixes everything. I've never not met more government that didn't do better. Right? Like, haven't you? So sell it, split the revenue and down payment. That's what somebody said. So there are programs for 3% FHA, but not everybody, qualifies for some of these things. I mean, you got to think about but even then at 3%, if the average house is, if it's 3.5%, and the average house is $500,000 or whatever, some people coming up with 20 or 30 grand, how long is that going to take them with the expenses they have? Yes, you can cut it down, but it still takes a while. And you're hoping that the price doesn't shift. Because if it takes you a year to save up $21,000, but all of a sudden that house you want, it's like, yeah, okay, well, we're going to have to downsize again. And I think this is the issue. The number one issue is the down payment. People can afford it. And there's a way I'm sure we can come up with something. But, and yes, also, how much market availability is out there? Because we've talked about it on this show. There are a lot of people out there who are interest rate jailed. They refuse to move because their interest rate is too damn low. And they're not going to sell their house unless they're selling it to a point where they're going to make so much money and they're moving somewhere else and paying cash. Outside of that, they're not doing it. Most people aren't. You're not going to sell your house and downsize and pay more. So there's man, and this is it. I mean, you go and look at our American dream now. People, what were we talking about the other day? People just want to be able to rent by themselves. Like, some of this stuff I was reading about the American dream, some people just want to own their car outright. Now we got, 72-month loans at $750 a piece a month?
And the average age of the car out there right now is at least 12 years old.
Yeah.
People just, they don't want new car payments?
No, they don't. No. 12? Well, and they can't afford them. That's the other side of it. They look up and say, okay, could I credit to qualify? Yes. Even if I got good rates, the car I'm going to get $60,000. And now I'm going to pay $800 a month for 72 months or whatever insane thing that they're putting out there. No. It is there's stuff's more expensive, and there's no doubt people are holding on longer. And the cars are built better, so they last longer. Some of them. Not all of them, but some of them.
Just got to service them.
That's it.
Which is getting expensive, too.
Which is also ridiculous. It's also a car payment. All right, coming up. More good stuff on the way, kids. A lot of good stuff still to come. Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz. Man, Ted Cruz went off on Tucker, who apparently is the most racist individual in the history of mankind. So ridiculous.
He's pretty bad. He hates white people.
He hates everyone, and he's a racist, and he's a Nazi. He is. He's in the Luftwaffe. It's the Jen Benson Show. Super Talk 99.7.
In December, Democrats will get what they were promised here, which is this vote on extending these tax credits. But we don't expect it to pass in the Senate. And even by some legislative triumph, it passes in the Senate on the part of Democrats. There's very much an open question whether Speaker Mike Johnson would put it on the floor in the House. Right now, it doesn't look like he would.
No. But what are you going to do to fix a problem? And the problem is healthcare is ridiculously not the services where you're talking we're talking about just paying for the right to have an expensive plan that costs you a lot every month. That, I mean, right, guys? I mean, it costs you a lot. And 20% of the money we spend on healthcare and our premiums actually go to anything to do with the healthcare side of stuff. So what are you doing? Right. I know Obamacare's, that's the Democrats' issue as far as it's their fault, but you're part of government. And for years, you've talked about fixing it. Now you've got the opportunity to do so. No, the Republican, Mike Johnson isn't going to fix it. But you got to think about this. This is what I always tell everybody. Don't think about, well, good, let it fail. Think about the fact that voters are going to look and go, well, you wanted this thing to fail so you could prove us wrong. And you promised everybody you'd have a plan. Where is your plan and when is it going into play? Because this time next year, we could be talking about the blue wave that swept in because people were pissed and angry that they didn't come out with something. And it's already baked in, by the way. These premiums, they're baked right in. So you better figure something out in this situation. You have to come up with a plan. Trump has come up with, I mean, he threw some stuff out there this week that, you know, a lot of it's talking points. You can't have talking points. You got to have a real plan. And, you know, somebody said earlier about the likes of the Maverick, John McCain. The Democrats, the Republicans voted for years to overturn Obamacare. But they never had a plan. They just wanted to eliminate it. And then they say stuff like, oh, it's free market. We got to let the free market work. It's not going to work like that. The free market isn't free because every place has their own market. And it's not like every insurance company operates in every state. Some states are just like, we're not going to go into. We have no reason to be there. We don't service those hospitals. We don't service that region. So it's limited already. So you've got to come up with a better plan than let the free market go. How do you expand the free market in a place that is so regulated with so many people who have, you know, I mean, so many groups have thrown their lobbyist money at this, that, and the other. And there's so many people taking money through administrations and you got middlemen. That's a big deal. So how do you do that? Well, that's where you come in and say, all right, we got a plan. What is the plan? Ken, what's going on? There's people keep going, why are there so many police vehicles everywhere? What's southbound 65 off in Nashville?
Southbound 65 in Nashville. Yeah. All right.
Apparently there's an overpass, vehicles all over it. Everything is stopped there.
I do not know.
And there was another one, I-40 eastbound, 3 or 4 ambulance fire trucks on them until they got to 65. Yeah, several people have chimed in. I have no idea.
Well, let's see here. We got 40 eastbound off-ramp to Fesser's Lane, partially blocked, just as a stalled vehicle.
Yeah, that's not going to bring you.
Got an accident, 40 eastbound at the Eastern Split. That's all I'm showing.
Yeah,
we don't know. I'm seeing right now.
We don't know. So far, we have no idea, but I'm sure we can find out coming up a little bit. A lot of stuff still to get to. Tucker Carlson, the battle of Tucker Carlson still goes on and it's getting bigger. It's getting to the point where I'm seeing it in the New York Times. I'm seeing it on CNN and MSNBC. And Ted Cruz, who is he's just Ted Cruz. I don't know what else you can say about that. Just funny. Ted goes off on Tucker. Ted goes off on Mondani, which is also another great. We might play some of that because it's just hilarious. Talk a bit about that. Bunch of other stuff still straight ahead. Chad Benson, Super Talk 997. So, I get so much Tucker. The Tucker stuff makes me laugh, right? Because Tucker he's an interesting character, right? He was. And he's easily still the most influential character in conservative media. And as I've been saying, whether it's been through the Israel stuff, there are two generations fighting it out in the MAGA world. You've got a younger generation like my brother and his friends who voted for Trump and are pissed and angry. The Epstein stuff, the Israel stuff, it's pissed them off. They don't feel like America was ever put first. The potential to get us into Venezuela, which, by the way, last week, they briefed everybody. So at any given time, if they want to go, they can go. I think an assassination attempt's probably more like it, but still. And then, this is crazy. This generational divide. And one of the things I said, and I talked to my little brother about this, is they listen to Tucker, they listen to, the likes of Rogan. That's where they get their media from, which is understandable. And they talk about the fact that, when people talk about World War II, that is so distant from them, right? Like that for them, for us, that's like talking about, when you were a kid, like the Civil War, right? It's the World War I. It is so far gone in their minds. They don't understand it. So there's this older generation. And Tucker has done his own thing, and people are pissed and angry about him in the MAGA world because, yes, he says some stuff that's outrageous. He'll admit it. He also knows what he's doing. It's a business side of stuff. Mark Levin, our night guy, comes out and says, I would never give this guy a chance to be on Debate Me, and the usual stuff. His podcast numbers suck. He's in the top 10 podcast. And if we're going to be honest, Mark's not in the 200. Not even close. So, no, Tucker does his own thing. Do I think what he says is right? And a lot of this has to do with the fact there was a big debate over him having Nick Fuentes off. It got to the point where it was on with Bill Maher talking about this weekend.
Tucker Carlson used to be the guy in the bow tie. Tucker Carlson was like the old school kind of country club Republican. And then he became, I don't know what, he's like the world's oldest groyper because he started having on Holocaust deniers. He started to be I'm just asking questions guy, questions like, who do you think was the good guys in World War II? Really stupid questions, but he's just asking questions.
Yeah, just asking questions. And look, he's brought up some crazy stuff, and he's got people on that push back on certain things and ask some serious questions about, I've been asking serious questions. I always tell everybody, I don't know who else on radio has pushed back on Israel like I have. And I have, got yelled at, paid the price for it, been throttled down on all my social media in a lot of ways because of it. And it had nothing to do with whether or not I like Israel. It had all to do with whether or not we should be funding a war and funding a country using our tax dollars to do what they were doing. No, I don't think we should have. And as friends, we told him no. But yeah, he pushes, and he had Nick on. And Nick Fuentes is a giant troll.
So now we had on this guy, this Fuentes guy, and never challenged him. Then the American Heritage Foundation got involved. They're the people behind, I think, the Project 2025, the Heritage Foundation. They're a very big Republican group. And the head of the Heritage Foundation came out and he attacked the people who were attacking Tucker Carlson for giving him this friendly interview. This guy, Kevin Roberts, head of the Heritage Foundation, he said, well, we shouldn't attack Carlson. When we disagree with a person's thoughts and opinions, we challenge those ideas in debate. Except Kevin Roberts, whoever the you are, that's not what Tucker Carlson did. He didn't challenge him. So now there's this war in the Republican Party, and I want to ask two questions about that and then about which party seems to be having a bigger problem with anti-Semitism, because it seems like both parties now have an anti-Semitic wing. Is that a wrong assessment?
No, that's a right assessment. I mean, it's like asking Jews, like, where would you rather go back to, Germany or Egypt? Like, both places are bad.
And I'm going to say this, right? Because I get this all the time, because, as you know, we burn the bagels here. That's what I always get in trouble for. Always something. Me questioning a foreign government over what they're doing and using our money and then lying to us and trying to drag us into more wars is not something that I think is wrong. It's not about the people, right? It's never about the people. It is about the government. And if we can't question things, that's wrong. I mean, that's the whole point. Doesn't mean you're going to be perfect. Doesn't mean that you're not trolling, because he trolls, let's be real. But you should be able to question certain things. And that's where this came. And by the way, the massive divide here, a younger group of people look at somebody like Tucker and say, yeah, I'm with him. Israel's had way too much over us. We spend way too much money. Even today, Laura Loomer came out. Laura Loomer, by the way, who calls everybody an anti-Semite. Everybody came out and says it's time for Israel to stand on their own 2 feet. Right? We don't need to be funding some of this stuff, which I thought was kind of a shock. Well, America first. That's what we were told. No more wars, America first. So, yeah. Do I think it's right to question? 100%. We should always question. Do I think Tucker has on some people with some crazy ideas? Of course he does. You know? And he's had some people on, by the way, with some ideas that, you know, that, look, Winston Churchill was the bad guy in World War II. Do I think he was the bad guy in World War II? No, I do not. Do I think that Hitler was the good guy? I do not. By the way, there was a lot of talk before we got fully in the war that we should have teamed up with the Nazis. Well, at the time, it was just the German military to go after communism, because communism in our mind was a greater threat. But we made the right decision. But still, questioning is not the same thing as hating. Nick Fuentes has a disdain for all things, for blacks, for poor white trash, for anybody that's, yes. And I think a vast majority, I do think a vast majority, I may be wrong, I think it's show. It is. It's show. But you should be able to question in this country. You should be able to ask questions. But we don't do that. The whole thing nowadays is fear. Fear rules absolutely. 100%. Fear rules. Tell everybody the world's coming to an end and that you're the only ones, right, that can save them from the demise that's coming. Nobody else can. Nobody else. Nobody else. And that's what makes me laugh. This person I'm going to see here, this Jew is just fine being conservative, and I don't think your feelings about Israel make you an anti-Semite. What Carlson is doing most certainly is. Well, what's he doing that makes him that way? I mean, he asked some questions. I mean, it's fair. Having Nick Fuentes off, and yeah, should he have pushed back a little bit more? I would have. But I'm not going to fight with Nick. I want to have a conversation. And I think that's the other part of it, too. he and Ted Cruz went at it because Ted Cruz also called him some names, right? And let's be real. Ted's first things out there were what? I came to the Senate so I could basically protect Israel. Like, that's your first go. That's your thing. Because I learned in Sunday school that's what we're supposed to do. That's not a great look. And, they went on from there. And they've had to contain, they've had a relationship that hasn't always been friendly. But I think the other thing is we have this thing now where we think a good interview is people yelling at each other. No, a good interview is having a serious conversation about something. A serious conversation. You have to, I tell you right now, if I had a chance to talk to Nick Fuentes, I would. And I'll push back, but I'm not going to yell at him and call him a douche canoe because I've reserved that for Randy Fine. That's his. That's his. And don't you ever take it away from him.
He might come after you for copyright infringement.
Yeah, he might. He might. So it's just, I love that people have different points of views. Let's hash out. The ideas are the things that matter. Is my idea for this better than your idea? That's the thing that matters most in life when you're talking about politics. But the problem is we no longer assume that the person we're talking to is going to understand nuance and the reality of whatever it is you're talking to. So it's just easier to scare the crap out of them. That's it. No. Somebody says, yes, platforming a Holocaust denier is flat out stupid. That's not a good look either. Why? You know what? If somebody's got a bad idea, shouldn't the world know that their idea is bad? I mean, shouldn't? Yeah, of course the world should know the idea is bad. 100%. Because that, and you're never going to reach somebody if you don't talk to them. But let me tell you, Nick also has the ear of a lot of young kids, a lot of young males in particular. And they like what he says about America first and the fact that he pushes back. Not all of them believe that the Holocaust didn't happen. Very few of them do. It's like people who voted for Mondani. A lot of them were voting for somebody different, younger, with fresh ideas. None of them want socialism. Because socialism, as we know, doesn't work. Socialism's problem, the way that they've spun it, is you could spin it in another way and make it sound like it's not the worst thing in the world. But he's come out and made it that way. So it's not good. Even Kathy Hochul today said, yeah, he's not getting any tax raises for his free buses. That's what the governor, before he's ever sworn in, said, nah, not happening. Already he's getting kicked in the grundle.
Well, I mean,
by somebody from his own party.
Yeah.
It's like we talked about, man. He was just talking in generalities. He's just throwing it all out there.
Yeah.
It's going to be free.
That's it.
It's what America wants. Yeah, well,
he won that mayor's race the same way that a kid would win class president, just by promising more snacks, longer recess.
Yes. Yeah. Everybody gets free ice cream. Nobody has to do any homework.
You're going to love it. Trust me.
It's going to be awesome. We're all going to learn everything. Everybody's getting straight A's. You don't have to worry about that. In fact, it's the opposite. You go to school for 15 minutes and the rest of the day is recess. Vote for me.
And then when my reelection comes up, I'll get rid of that 15 minutes that you actually have to be in school.
Yeah. Then you find out, what do you mean? I can't deliver any of my promises. I love the fact that Kathy Hochul came out today and said, nope. Oh, the one thing he thought, well, maybe I'll get the free buses. She's already like, nope. I endorsed you, but you're getting nothing. Thank you. Have fun.
Right. Good luck with that.
Good luck indeed. Oh, my Lord. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about this, I'm sure, tomorrow. Coming up, we got a little Matt in front of us. Talk to him in a minute as we wrap up today's show. This is the Chad Benson Show. 99.7. It's the incredible shrinking chair. Matt's with us today.
I changed this chair out because I was hoping it would be better. I did that on Friday for a guest, for Freddie O'Connell, and it is not better.
No, you did that so you could sit above him and peer down upon him.
Oh, that's right. The old, I think David Letterman did that trick. I think Paul Bear Bryant was always, he did that trick. He shaved the legs off of the sofa in his office so that the sofa was lower than his desk so he could.
It's what the emperor
Power move.
The emperor back in the day in Japan, where you could not be at the same height as the emperor or above him. And MacArthur's like, no.
Tall guys have to squat.
Yeah. He took a picture with him because he wanted the world to see how much gianter he was. Look at the giantness of me.
That's nice.
What's up? What you guys?
What's going on there,
How
Chad?
did you and Freddie get along?
Oh, it's good. It's fine. I mean, Freddie and I disagree with a lot of things. A lot of people don't like his property tax increases and the fact that, conveniently his personal property tax didn't go up.
That's kind of odd.
We talked about that. We talked about the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, talked about LPRs, talked about, taxation, impact fees and the like. And it was a good conversation. You can find it on Super Talk.
What was his reasoning for, because you and I were joking around like, oh, it's going to be next year. Mine's going to go up next year.
No, he said his went up before.
Oh, okay.
He said 4 years ago his went up like 46%, while other people's only went up like 22%. So his was higher before, and so it wasn't as high this time around.
Oh.
And said that his neighbors, it was the same thing.
Okay.
He says Germantown was already sky high or whatever, or Salem Town, wherever he lives. So but Freddie is what Freddie is. Freddie, some of the crime numbers are going down. He's taking some credit for that, but in his, to his defense, he said it's not enough and we need to do more. We talked about LPRs SROs in schools, because apparently they're getting to the excuse for not bringing school resource officers into elementary schools in the Metro Nashville system was that they didn't have enough police officers. And so now they're getting to full capacity on their police department. So we talked about that, and he said they're going to add that. So it was a good conversation.
That's good.
All in all.
That's good. And, the police force across the country in so many places, so down, and nobody wants to be a cop. It's a tough thing.
What was this interview's excuse on the LPRs?
Same thing, that he couldn't get it through. They've already approved LPRs. The city council approved license plate readers in Nashville.
Yeah.
And it was up to the mayor's office to bring contracts back before the city council that has approved them to approve the contracts. Freddie's argument is, well, it's a new city council now because it's been so long since that was approved, and I could not get the contracts approved by this city council, to which I say, well, isn't that your job? You claim you want them. Isn't it your job to sit down with individual city councils, hear their objections, and to figure out, to lead? And he says that he can't get the votes.
Well, not only that, you're not going to get a positive vote when you don't even turn the contracts over.
You would think what you would do is bring almost like a bidding thing, 3 or 4 contracts in and say, look, these are the people that we're looking to work with. This is what they're offering. Which one of these ones you guys think we could work with?
Or bring the one that you think is the best contract that has been presented to your office to the city council and get a vote.
Yeah.
And at very least, you're bringing it to the public's attention. Who is in favor of LPRs, who's not in favor of LPRs, and why. You're bringing it to the, you're getting it above the waterline in terms of the attention of the city.
And if you bring it to a vote and they vote it down, then he has the legitimate excuse to be able to say the city council
they voted it down.
Yeah, that's right there. It's the perfect, we were just joking about Mondani. Already, Kathy Hochul says he's not getting a tax dollar for his free buses.
He's not getting his money for his free buses. But, Mondani will do what Mondani can do, and Freddie will do what Freddie can do to push us in that direction. Freddie's problem is, and this is why I call him Feckless Freddie, is that, you listen. You listen to all the sides, and you can't make a decision. It's paralysis by analysis?
Yeah.
And I think that's what he's going through. And so I don't expect that Freddie O'Connell will do anything on LPRs during his first term in office. And, the voters will decide whether or not that's enough to find a new mayor.
We'll see. We will see. What are you talking about today?
We're obviously talking about the culmination of the Democrat government shutdown. The Democrats, after 40 days of making the American people suffer, they're agreeing to the deal that the Republicans proposed to begin with.
Yeah, but now the Republicans may Rand Paul may throw.
Now, Rand Paul can hold it up for a certain amount of time, but I don't think he can hold it up for very long.
Yeah, because of hemp. They're trying to take away hemp.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's about hemp.
Good for Rand.
Yeah, good. We're all
defend the hemp.
Defend the hemp.
There you go, buddy.
Matt, straight ahead. You guys have a good one. We'll do it again tomorrow.